Hey guys, for this video, we're going to do some gray blending with this client. You can see all that gray and we're gonna do a cute little chop and blend it out so that she can go natural now without having to worry about coming in every 6 weeks. So keep watching to see how we did this service. Hey guys, if you want, you can follow me over on Instagram at Christy@the_cottage.
It is just way too damn hot out. I took a shower. My hair wasn't like freezing out or anything. And now that I've been outside, it's going to start frizzing. This is amazing. Anyways, today for my client, who's actually my cousin, we're going to work on like embracing her gray. So we're going to head to the beauty supply store. I'm going to get some Malibu treatments and see like a whole bunch of different colors, see what we can get. Maybe she just wants to like work her way into it. I don't know. She has like a warmer color on her hair, so it might turn like really brassy. So I'm kind of nervous and excited just because like this could go one way or the other. It could turn out really good or just like, what the fuck is that shit? Sorry for the F-bomb. But anyway, so we're gonna head to the salon and just say a prayer because I mean, it could go super brassy and orange, or it could turn out really good. I don't know. So that's what we're gonna do today. Okay, so I just noticed something really funny. So the car in front of me, she has a little like bumper sticker on her car, and I thought it said like never go braless. I was like, shit, bitch, like live your life once in a while. Like take that shit off. Apparently it says never go beerless. So, you know.
Hey guys, I thought I'd bring you to the beauty supply with me today. I'm doing my cousin's hair and I'm not sure if I'm going to have to pull any of her color out. So I'm going to get some of the Malibu CPR because this stuff is really great for color removal. And now that I'm actually recording and I've done the service, I didn't actually end up having to use it because we didn't end up stripping all of her color out. I'm grabbing some of my toners from Paul Mitchell the Demi for my blonding services and just to make sure that I have something extra on hand for her to do like a cooler blonde. So I'm grabbing some of the 10 PA and some of the 9V, and then I will make my way over to Schwarzkopf because I really want to make sure I have enough of like a level like 6, 7 ash if I need to tone down any of the brassiness. So that's what we are going to grab here. You know, a little of this, a little of that. Just make sure you have whatever you could potentially need on hand. I literally spent over $100 just to make sure that whatever I need, I have for whatever direction this color service goes in. Okay, so here's my cousin's hair. I was the last person that colored it, and so it's been since like the end of May when my grandpa passed away. So her roots are a couple inches long.
Okay, so after talking to my cousin, I felt a lot better about doing her hair. Her hair actually really isn't super, I mean, it's definitely warm, but it's not like super orangey or anything. Like the highlights we did last time really blended. So what we're going to do is just kind of go through her root area and do like some really fine baby lights. She wants it a little bit brighter, like right on her hairline there. She's almost like solid silver in this area. And then she has like her darker roots with a little bit of gray coming through here. And it's almost just like really dark back here. So we're going to try and just do some really fine baby lights up in this area to try and eliminate this line a little bit more. And then we're going to back comb her hair to try and kind of get it a little bit brighter so that way we can put like a cooler tone on top of it. She doesn't want it to feel drastic enough to where it's like, oh wow, you just got your hair done, to where it was like super warm before and now it's like super ashy. So we're going to leave a little bit of the warmth behind. That way she feels like in case the tone doesn't go well with her skin tone. She still feels like at least there's a little bit of warmth in there. So right now we're going to mix it. I'm just going to be starting off with a Schwarzkopf Blonde Me with 20 volume and Olaplex.
First off, to start, I just want to apologize. I don't know why the camera's kind of blurry. I should have cleaned it or something beforehand, but anyways, I'm apologizing for how the imaging kind of looks. But onto the hair. So to start, you can see that she's almost like 100% very silvery gray, kind of underneath the crown section. So we're going to start with doing a very fine few baby light weaves just directly along the hairline. And then we're not going to be doing any subsections at all because I feel like I want to try and blend this as much as possible, because when she pulls her hair back, she says she can really see like how strong her gray is. So I want to try to make this as natural looking as possible, but more like of a blonde versus a gray. So I'm doing a pretty heavy weave. The first few are just baby lights, and then after that I'm doing a little bit more of a heavier weave and 0 subsections, and I'm doing it all the way to the point where I'm almost behind the ear, and I will repeat this on both sides. Okay, now that we're on this side, you can see just how super tiny I'm doing these little baby light foils. It's literally just a few little strands directly on the hairline. I want this to be so natural, so blended, minimal grow out. So that's why we're doing like the first 3 just really, really soft. And then after that, we will be doing them a little bit thicker. And you can see that she has a lot of different tones of gray. So she's very light up front, but then has like darker through the back. However, it almost doesn't look really gray back there. It's just really dark. So yeah, I guess it has a little bit of gray, but definitely not like up front. So I feel like my goal for the service is to try and make it as minimal grow out as possible all the way around, like up top and like directly on the hairline, because I know that she is always had to be like on a very strict like 6 to 8 week schedule. And if I can like do her hair to where it can grow out a little bit, and she doesn't feel like she needs to come in more regularly, then I'll be pretty happy with that, because I just know how she's felt about her hair like over the last few years, and I mean honestly just like forever. So I am kind of excited though, because I've always thought like, oh, she should just go like super bright, like cool blonde, because I feel like that would look so cute on her with her skin tone, and she's just so cute. I feel like it would just look really good on her. But she's just been used to having dark hair, and it's so warm that I feel like it's hard to imagine being light but also cool too. So I feel like this is going to be like a hard transition to get used to maybe. So I'm still kind of nervous, because I know not just like the difference of being dark to light is hard to get used to, but also the transition of warm to cool. So I'm hoping that as we foil the rest of her hair, that she'll still have enough of the warmth in there to at least balance it out just a little bit, and to still give her a little bit of warmth so that she doesn't feel washed out. Just while the video is going, I feel like talking about this would be a good idea. Just the whole like transitioning to gray or doing like a gray makeover. I've had a few people ask me, and I have done the service a few times where I'm actually like not just trying to blend the gray but actually color match the gray, and it is like a 8 to 12 hour service, like $600 to $800. I mean, it is so costly. It is very time consuming, and I feel like clients don't really understand that. So just to keep in mind, if you guys ever attempt this service, if you have somebody that's going to be doing the service and they're not wanting to do it like all up front, they want to like ease their way into it, I feel like it can be very hard because they have something in mind for like the end result, and if they're not going to get it right away, I feel like they're not going to be super happy. Oh, really quickly, so for her hairline right here, I'm doing the same, just very fine weaves directly on her hairline. Again, she's not necessarily as bright up here, but one of the pictures that she did show me has like a brighter money piece. So that's what we're trying to do here, and not running it through the ends because she's already pretty light and I don't want to cause any damage. So we're just going to be doing like 3 foils back to back of a really soft weave, and that will be her money piece. And then as we go into the rest of her hair, I'm just going to drop down just beyond the crown area, and we're going to be doing really fine baby light weaves all the way up horizontally over around her hair, kind of like a halo, and that's going to help blend out her color that she has, like the harsh line of demarcation. And then we're just gonna match that on the other side. I'm not doing any slices. I don't want it to be too like strong ebony blonde pieces. I just want everything to blend really nicely and really softly. So after I do her money piece, we're gonna turn to the side and just do weaves all the way up and around the side of her head. Okay, so back to what I was talking about like a gray transformation service. So I just had somebody come in, and before they were talking like, oh, I want to transition into gray. And I'm like, okay, just a heads up, like that is a full day event, like 8 to 12 hours, $600 to $800. So just be prepared for that. And she's like, oh no, like I want to take my time. I want to have it, go over a few appointments and ease my way into it. So her hair was probably like a level 5-6 red that we would consistently do on top of her, with maybe like a little bit of highlights. So over quarantine and over the summer, her hair has actually lightened to a very orange color. But because we haven't colored her hair since probably like before quarantine, she has a good like 3 inches of heavy gray grow out. So I just thought like this would be perfect, and she wanted to still do it because she, worked hard for her grow out and everything. So she said she kind of wanted to just like ease her way into it. And when all was said and done, like I thought, okay, let's just do some weaves, kind of like the same exact process that we're doing right now. But her hair was so warm, it had so much buildup of warm color that it didn't lift past like, it got blonde where we did the highlights, but we did such a fine amount that the rest of the hair that was very orange kind of overpowered the blonde and just made it look like a light yellow. So she had very cool like root area, and then all of a sudden like the rest of her hair was very warm. So I think if you're doing this service with somebody and they have a very harsh line of demarcation, like say if they've always done just like a regular color retouch and they're wanting to transition to this, make sure you explain to them, because this is one of the things that she was saying, like, oh, it's just like such a harsh line. It just goes from cool to warm. There's like, no, it doesn't like blend. It's just a harsh line. Like, people need to understand that that line is going to be there. Like, we can only do so many foils to try to break it up, but that line is going to be there unless you actually like take some bleach and bleach out all of the hair beyond that line. That is the only way to 100% get rid of that line. And up until that point, like, it might take 3 or 4 sessions before that line is gone or you don't notice it as much. So that is just something to make sure that you communicate with your clients, that if they're just trying to like take a step in this direction, like, be sure to explain to them like, hey, we're not doing the full on service now. So just beware that you're going to have your very cool roots, but we're going to try and break through your color that you have as much as possible, but it's still going to overpower the majority of your color because we're only doing like a fine amount of highlights. Another thing that you could do also is do the highlights, and then you'll see with the service is go through and like kind of back comb and paint through the ends. That will kind of brighten it up a little bit, so that way they feel like it's, you know, not so heavy or not so dark through the ends or warm or whatever. But, you know, then they might feel like they're gray and then warm or dark through the midsection and then bright through the ends. I feel like it's just such a touchy like way to go about it, and it can be really tricky, but you'll see at the end result here that it actually ended up being really, really well and worked out really good, and the color turned out really pretty. But clients also have to be willing, when they do the service, to cut a few inches. If they're like really gung-ho on like, yes, I want to do this all today, let's just go for the gray, and like I want to get rid of my color altogether, then they need to be open to the idea of cutting their hair a couple of inches, because it's few and far between of people that their hair can handle that much bleach and that much of a service to get rid of the color. So it's not only just a color transformation, it's like an actual cut transformation too. Like today for my cousin, we ended up cutting off probably like 4 or 5 inches. Like her hair was almost probably like to, just beyond her shoulder blades a little bit. And now it's like just right below the her collarbone, or like in the back where her, like the t-shirt line would be. So, we did have to get rid of quite a bit of hair to make sure that we get the blend and get the color right and everything without causing it any damage. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about that stuff because I think it's important to understand when you're going into these services. Like, another thing is, when you're doing a service, does your client want to have actually like blonde highlights, or do they want two-tone to be like match their color? But then they have to realize that if they have color through the ends and you tone it to match their gray, probably all that's going to happen is they're going to cool down or neutralize the warmth that's in the ends of their hair and just make it like a neutral blonde versus like a cool blonde if they have pre-existing color. So then they're going to go from like a toner that completely matches their gray color up in their roots to just like a brighter, more neutral blonde through the ends, which is kind of what happened. And then my client was like, I don't even really see a difference. And I'm like, oh, trust me, there's a difference. You just can't really see it. So what I actually ended up doing was not this client, but a client earlier in the week, was I clarified the toner just a little bit to pull some of it out so that she could actually see through to like the blonde highlights. So it wasn't so cool and ashy to blend perfectly with her gray. It was more of like a blonde color, so it kind of like helped transition a little bit more into the color that she had on her ends, and it just looked more even versus so gray. She looked a little bit more light. But anyways, I feel like I could go on for a long time, and now I feel like I might just be confusing because I'm rambling on about it and all the different things that you have to keep in mind and into consideration when you're trying to figure out like transitioning or blending gray. But if you guys have any more questions in the comment section below, because I kind of just want to shut up because I feel like I'm boring you or talking too much about it, feel free to ask and I'll try to answer as best as I can. So right now we're going to be finishing up doing her foil. And then when we do that, we're just going to go through the ends and I'm going to weave and backcomb some of them. But for the most part, we're going to try to balayage and paint through all of the ends, at least in the top section of her hair. And then the very back section that's kind of left out of the foils, that's going to be kind of left as it is. And then later on, I'm going to try to throw on like a toner to try to cool it down just a little bit. But the rest of her hair, we're going to be trying to lighten through. Another thing to keep in mind is if somebody doesn't want to get rid of all of the color that they have, if they want to preserve a little bit of the warmth or a little bit of the pre-existing color that they have, then you could do like a thicker weave to where you have a little bit more dark that you're weaving out. But for me, I mean, I weave just a few little pieces out and the rest of it I did the blonde and then backcombed it. So I mean, I know we're trying to go into being more of a blonde tone and trying to break through the color. So I personally in this service just weaved out a fine amount to blend and preserve some of that warmth. But if somebody wanted to have more of that color in, then you could even leave a subsection of these dropouts and not necessarily balayage every single section. Okay, now we're gonna go through and pull these foils out just because I don't want them to sit too long and get damaged. And when I foiled her hair, I didn't pull through the ends all the way. There might have been some areas where I dragged it down a little bit further. That's just because it was a little brassy. So in some of these areas, I'm going to check through the ends and make sure that it's lightened all the way through. If I need to, then I can kind of pull it through the ends, like right here, just kind of comb it through to make sure the ends get a little bit brighter. And we're just going to let that sit out so that way it stops processing and doesn't create any damage. So you can see here that we actually lifted through that warmth pretty nicely. I was actually kind of shocked because I thought that she was going to have a lot of brassiness and warmth left through the ends, but I was really happy to see actually that you can see here as we pull her foils out that it lightened perfectly and she's at like a nice level 10, zero brassiness. Like, who even are you? Like, how does that even happen? So yeah, we'll be able to tone her hair nicely.
Okay, so I'm pre-toning my cousin at the shampoo bowl with Fanola No Yellow shampoo. And I just asked her, does she want me to tone her down? Because it got pretty blonde. Does she want me to tone her down to be like actual, like match her gray hair, silvery tone? Or does she want it to be like more of a brighter blonde color? And she's like, we're going into fall, so kind of try to get it to blend with her gray, but also keep a little bit of the brightness. So I think what I'm going to do is tone overall to be brighter. And I'm going to use Paul Mitchell the Demi 10 PA and just a little bit of the 9V just because I don't want it to go too dark. And then I'm probably gonna go doing like a root smudge, a little bit of a root tap with like a level 8 ash and just kind of soften the root up a little bit so that it blends with her gray, but then it will kind of be a little bit brighter around her face and like through the ends with the blonde. Okay, so we just toned her hair and it's actually a perfect example of why I should always add rose gold, like even if it's just a drop or two to my formulas. Maybe you'll see as her hair is drying a little bit how much of a violet tone it has to it, and that's why I always add my gold to my super cool blonde, ashy blonde formulations, because even though you want it ashy, you don't necessarily want it to grab like violety or gray. So it definitely grabbed very violety, and you guys might notice that as your hair, when it looks kind of damp and as it starts drying, you'll see that. So that's like why I always add my rose gold. I didn't this time and I should have. I just thought she has so much warmth in her hair already that it would probably like help neutralize it or soften it up, but I was wrong. So I might have to go through with a clarifier and just kind of pull it out a little bit. So we're gonna go through right now and do her root shadow color. And I want it to be pretty light still, but I want it to kind of match her natural color. So I'm gonna say like, I don't wanna go like too dark or anything. So I'm gonna use Schwarzkopf because I really like how it cools down the brassiness. I'm gonna use probably like half 811 and then a quarter 9546 that kind of has like it's like a chocolatey, what does it say? Beige chocolate toner. And then that is gonna add the warmth that I'm gonna need to prevent it from grabbing too ashy. And then the 9-1, just the quarter ounce of that. So that will equal like my formulation. So just maybe I'll even do a little bit more of the 811 just because I do want it to go a little bit darker, and I feel like if I add too much of the 9, then it might not go dark enough. So you guys, when I say a little bit of this and a little bit of that, it's because I'm not measuring. I'm just kind of pouring it in and eyeballing it, and then when I see what the total amount comes to, then I'll like match that with a processing solution. I know that like so many of you guys are always like, what's the formulation, or how much of this and how much of that, and like it's always, you know, the majority of and then a little bit of this. So the majority of will be 811 and then a little bit of those other toners just to kind of like balance it out or lighten it up just a little bit.
Okay, I don't know if you can see the tone and how like violet it looks, but it actually ended up coming out just fine, and we didn't have to retone it or pull it out or anything, so we got lucky. But I mean, it definitely did grab. I think because we washed it a second time after we washed out the root shadow, I think that just kind of pulled it out just a little bit. But yeah, it was kind of nerve-wracking at first because I thought, gosh darn it, I should have put that damn rose gold in there. This would have solved my problem. Anyways, so as we're going up, I'm not really doing the root shadow for it to do anything to her natural color. I'm just doing it so it can soften the highlights that we did and kind of tone it down. And that way, as her hair grows out, like it will kind of fade a little bit and just be with her natural color. But I just kind of wanted to tone down her roots, make them not so bright with the highlights there, and just soften them up. And also hope that if I drag the root shadow down a little bit, then maybe it would cool down the brassiness through the midsection and add a little bit of depth back into her hair. So we're just going to do this probably like 1 inch to 2 inches on her roots, and then just tap it very at the front of her hairline and right along her hairline around her temples too, and then drag it down a little bit further in the back. Okay, so I just let this sit for like 10 to 15 minutes, let it process, and then we washed it out, and I did another Olaplex treatment on her, and her hair feels nice and healthy. So here's her before again, super warm, kind of long. We had to cut a little bit off. And here is her after. Look how cute this is. That cut looks so good on her. And you can see how nicely it blends from her gray roots into that warmth, but then into the brighter blonde ends. It's just so soft. And this is actually one of the stories that I did on my Instagram. So I thought I'd just pull it in here because I think it shows her roots a little bit more in one of these sections. But look at that tone. Like the blonde just blends so nicely. I mean, you can see the different tones, but the transition is so soft. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please ask in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.